Welcome to Judaism Demystified, a podcast for the perplexed. Join us as we explore some of the most fascinating Jewish and Torah-related topics with our esteemed guests. By tackling some of the biggest questions you likely won't find addressed elsewhere, we aim to shed light on important issues and inspire a return to the fundamentals. Enjoy the show. Thank you for joining the Judaism Demystified podcast. It is an absolute honor to have Chacham Yוחאi Makbili coming and joining us on the podcast from Israel. We are really blessed to have you on. We're so excited for this. Before we begin, we'd like just to tell our audience who are not familiar with you, if you could just tell them a little bit about yourself, who you are, your background.
Okay, I'm very happy to be in your podcast. And so my name is Juhaim Makbili. I live in Kidumim in Samaria, and I have 7 children. I have a first degree in electrical engineering from the Technion, a second degree in computer engineering from the Technion, and the PhD from the university about philosophy, Rambam philosophy. And I work at Johnson and Johnson company in as a software algorithm, to solve heart rate disorders. And this is my main this is my parnasa. And I teach in the Technion Rambam philosophy and Jewish political philosophy. But my mind is set on the vision to make Maimonides accessible for everyone. So I started with the first project was to enable 1 volume Mishneh Torah with accurate accurate version from manuscripts. The second project was to have an elucidated version, a commented version, to make people understand what they are reading. And the focus on that version was that what is the meaning of the Rambam and not where the Rambam took it from. And the third project was translating and have a commentary on the book, the guide for the perplexed, the Moreh Nevuchim. And the current project is to have a series of books around the year for Purim and Chanukah and Rosh Hashanah, and the meaning according to the Rambam, so people can have an implementation of the ideas of the Rambam to around the world and the occasions around the table with the family or in the synagogue. And so this is my current project. I've worked on maybe we will talk about it and on purify and the tuma and tahara.
But we have the book right here, Ben.
Absolutely, purity, yes. Yes. Purity and impurity. Thank you very much. So
for everyone to see,
we have the time to talk about it, and that's all. I mean,
that's all. That's a lot.
That's a lot. It's more than a person can dream of doing in a lifetime. And that's when we hope that you have the Hashem gives you koach to do much more. I was actually using your Haggadah this past Pesach.
Yes, thank you.
It's so interesting because what you do for a part of what you do is it's a futuristic Haggadah in a sense where you show how certain things would be read in the Haggadah. Where are we sitting right now in the Beit HaMikdash, right? It's that's just so it's a concept that I've never seen before, and I was kind of playing it out whenever the occasions arose. Okay, this is what we would say right now if we were sitting, in Israel and during when we had the Korban Pesach and everything, and it was just like everyone was so it was so interesting to people because we never think about it that way. You know what I mean? We never think about it that way. We're so used to our current mindset that we don't think like how it should be really, and
yes,
it will be.
This is a major idea in whatever I do. I want to restore the old and the original way of thinking of Chachamim,
yeah.
But I want to restore it not to the past but to the future with a modification that needed to be. So this is the Haggadah was the first in the series around the year. Was the first book that I really wanted to make it to see the state of Israel as part of the Geulah.
Yeah.
To dream about a Mikdash in a way that that people can dream about it. And for example, so I think I don't know if you have it is always I've always renewed the ideas of how to see the future. So in the last version of the Haggadah, for example, I was talked about that people will not come physically to the temple, but they will order by an application the Korban Pesach, and and some messenger or even a drone will give them the Korban. This is more realistic view of and you have always to think about the practical way to restore the old and original ways of Judaism.
Yeah, it's we have to by contemplating things in a realistic and futuristic way, that's how we also make it eventually happen. If we don't think about moving forward and we don't if we don't put into our minds the future and the moving forward, it will never happen.
Yes.
By thinking these things, we also therefore get inspired to actually do real, applicable, practical things to bring it. Bezrat Hashem, biimiנו. Okay.
So we put together a few questions that we felt would be relevant just based on conversations we've had with friends and also based on shiurim that you gave in Hebrew that we really felt should be given over to our English-speaking audience, mostly English-speaking audience. So the first question is, halacha is not monolithic, but consists of many opinions. How should individuals navigate this complexity without feeling overwhelmed? And why is it still relevant to follow Harambam's approach today?
Okay, this is a great question to start with. So indeed, today the halacha is not monolithic. There is a great, it is not Torah achat v'mishpat echad yeh lachem, one Torah and one law for everyone. But we have thousands of versions of the Torah. That was not the original situation. It came from many, it came to this order because many factors. And it really, we have to cope with, everyone have to cope with this situation. I will say the bottom line of that, and then I will elaborate on that. So I think that everyone should find a teacher initially to gain halachic grounding. This could be Rambam or another authority. Okay, everyone should have a teacher for the beginning,
the basic.
of his for the basic.
Yeah.
Then gradually develop intellectual independence with deep fear of Yirat Hashem and personal responsibility. It not comes at first, but it comes. Someone has to develop it. His personal responsibility, his commitment to find the truth in everything he does, and eventually he will find. I think he will find the way to. And I think that the Rambam makes it happen. So when someone learns the pillars of the authorities of Judaism, he will finally find the way. So we have to understand that there are three centers of halachic authority. First of all is the Sanhedrin, which no longer functions, and this is a lack we have. So if there were Sanhedrin, there were no disputes or things to battle with. Everyone would follow the ruling, and there is one Torah and one law for everyone. And the second one is what is nationally accepted practices, things that were accepted by all Jewish around the world. Everyone should follow them. Okay. Even that they were not set by the Sanhedrin, and this is the second authority. And the third one is the local rabbinic beidin, local rabbinic courts or authority, which is relevant to the public sphere, to the public places.
Yeah.
So today, I mean, what is related to local rabbinic spaces, what the Mara de Atra, for example, says that this is the custom of the city in a public space should be preserved. People should follow his rulings, but just not in the private spaces and not in one's life, but in having a community together. But we have to understand that there is no absolute authority today. there is no, I mean, any committee of Rabbanim, any, which is not Sanhedrin, any Mara de Atra, or your Minhag Avot, or your, I mean, Minhag Avot, your tradition in the family, is not an absolute authority. This is just a start point to start with, to understand it, and to take responsibility on the things which should be followed and things that should not be followed, because we have to live together, because we have a kibbutz galuyat, gathering of the exiles, and someone has to understand what is what the only absolute authority is the Sanhedrin.
Right.
And there's no other absolute authority today. We hope we will have it someday, but for now, the exiles has made sometimes they have some customs and some psikot, some rulings that are far away from the way things should be done by the Jewish in this state of when we have the state of Israel and there is kibbutz galuyot and people are moving from one place to another place and there is no minhag makom, the local custom. So everyone will have to take responsibility for that. I'll give you an example. If your rabbi say to you that something in Shabbat is allowed, is permitted, and he is wrong, and you've done something which is prohibited according to the Torah, you will have to bring a sacrifice to the temple.
Right.
That means that this is your responsibility. He will not have to. He is not a Sanhedrin. He is not a Sanhedrin that he can take it into his account. So this is your responsibility. This is not his. Even if he is done wrong, he will not have the responsibility to fix that. So, but even the Sanhedrin, for example,
if they're wrong, yeah.
Yes, even the Sanhedrin, which has an absolute authority, not in every condition, not in every situation. So, for example, suppose the Sanhedrin says to us that Shabbat is not relevant to our modern life anymore, or, for example, homosexuality is not relevant to our life anymore. One should not listen to them, should not follow them, because this is one of the pillars of the Torah, Gufei Torah, and even they cannot, they don't have the power or the authority to abandon these great ideas of the Torah. Shabbat, for example, and there is another situation when when the Sanhedrin tells you, when she rules some issue, when she has a psika for some issue, and they were eventually wrong, because they are humans, and as Maimonides says, every human can wrong, everyone can be wrong, and people follow their rulings. So when they found that they were wrong, they are bringing a sacrifice to the temple. But if you know that they were wrong and they told you to do something positive, not to neglect something, or not they're not just they had interpreted the Torah, and not just issuing decrees or something like that they have an absolute, a full absolute. But a common thing, the Torah, they not have a full absolute about that, because if they wrong and you knew that they were wrong, but you did according to what they said, because you thought that it is important.
Based on their
Yes,
authority.
they have the authority, so you will have to bring the sacrifice and not them. So you see how much responsibility and self-responsibility one had. And the reason that people do not understand that, they not learn that issue, because people only learn what is actual today. And the Rambam asks people, he demands that people will, Talmidei Chachamim, for example, will have to learn the whole Torah. I mean, according to the Rambam, you cannot be a rabbi if you don't know the whole Torah.
So are you talking about the phenomenon where people start learning, they skip everything and they go to, let's say, modern day poskim, and that's it?
Yes,
referring
yes,
to. They start learning the Gemara, the Mishnah, the Gemara, the Rishoni. It just skips the whole thing and goes straight into
we skip the whole things, but even if the way they learn, maybe we should have it in another conversation. Maybe, but even if they learn Gemara, they don't open their mind to what is not relevant today. I mean, it stays only as a pure philosophical issue and not a practical issue. I mean, we have from all over the Torah, even the temple, even Nezirut, even the Sanhedrin halachot, war halachot of war, and halachot of justice, and whatever is related to our Torah, we have to think it as practical. Even though it's not practical, we can extract practical ideas from these issues, and people do not think of that as practical. They don't, when they learn, for example, about justice, about some machloket between Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Tarfon, for example, they don't finalize their limud with psika, with practical psika. There is a practical psika. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and the Libat Hilchata is all around the Torah, not just the practical things that we have today. So for example, Lela Seder, for example, let me show you an example in that way, and it can Lela Seder, for example, you cannot, when there is a sacrifice, the lamb sacrifice for Lela Seder, you cannot have a table for children only. There is a practical reasoning, hilchatic practical, but the idea in front of that, and which lead to a situation that children will not have a table of their own, is very important in our life. It means that children should be on the table of with the parents, with all the family that are part of it, and they cannot have a table of their own. And this is an example to see how Hilchot Korban Pesach, the sacrifice of the Pesach, relates to our daily life. It has an idea we can learn to our life. So I will conclude that learning the Rambam gives you a full view, a full aspect to see the whole Torah, so you can understand. And people cannot give you just a narrow view of the Torah. And rabbis cannot tell you, you must follow my rulings because you are my student. And either
it empowers you to think for yourself, basically.
Yes. It makes you much more dependent, and it is. I think this is kind of disaster, because when there was a community and one community in one place, you could understand the advantages of that. But when there are no communities, and the reason it makes your attitude to preserve the community and not whole Am Israel, you can have you are very bound to your community and not to finding the full truth. So having it bound to your community in the exiles, it's very important. It gives you a sense of identity and a sense of a strong way to preserve the Torah. But in some ways, in today, when all the exiles are gathering together, it bounds you in a way that preserve the community and not preserve the whole Am Israel and the whole Torah. So the Rambam gives you a wide view for that, a wide commitment to save and to restore the whole Torah in a variety of places in our life, and in the original ways that we should restore them and think about them. So I think that brings someone to understand that he has to learn more, to take more responsibility, and he can make it. He can make it. I don't tell people that they have to follow the Rambam. I teach people that they have the option to follow the Rambam. Okay, I mean, the Rambam, I tell them that for example, today when people talks about halakha, they say to me, my rabbi told me to do these things, or Rabbi Ovadia Yosef told me to do this. So I tell them, you can also follow Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, which is much wider than everyone else, and which is and he has not just the the wide view of halakha, but also the wide view of thought. He is not a final point, but he is it is very important to combine both things and to see the way we should follow our future and our vision, because Rambam has a full vision, even though someone can argue with, he has a full vision and not just a part of vision like Shulchan Aruch or something like that.
So I just wanted to ask you, in the very beginning when you started, you said there was three levels of authority. You said Sanhedrin, something that's not from the Sanhedrin but accepted by all of Klal Israel, and then you said local Beit Din, right?
Yes.
When you say accepted by all Israel, what did you mean specifically? Minagim?
No, let me understand it. Rambam said, Maimonides said, that the power of the Talmud, the authority of the Talmud, emerged from the fact that all of Israel accepted it.
Right.
There was no Sanhedrin.
Oh,
Talmud.
so the Talmud takes place for the Sanhedrin as the final authority.
Yes.
That's
the Talmud takes the place of the Sanhedrin because all Israel accepted it as an authority. Okay, so there is, for example, community rabbis have the power to establish customary practices, such as, for example, the prohibition against eating chicken with dairy. So Rabbi Yossi Aglili community permitted it, while other communities forbade it. So each community can have the followed by its rabbinic leadership, but it relates only to spaces, to the locals, to the public spaces. But if there is something which is accepted by all of Israel, for example, I'm give you a modern example of having a kippah, for example. I think that the fact that all of Israel accepted it as a way to be Yirat Hashem, as to be part of the Shomrei Torah, it is a valid authority that you have to follow. Okay, and this is for example. But if there is, and maybe we can go back for example of for issues, for example, soft matzot or eating locusts, which is, for example, having that in the earlier days of at the Talmud and even afterwards, people were eating. It is clear that people were eating, all Israel were eating soft matzot, and or eating, having the tradition of eating locusts. So when there is, so it is permitted for everybody, and if some community does not have that tradition, and that was the reason why in European communities, Ashkenazi communities, they lost the tradition of identifying the locust. We can restore it while having the Sephardic communities which can identify that, and because it was accepted by all of Israel, and also about soft matzot, for example, since it was accepted earlier by all of Israel, we can restore it, and that has much more power in your private spaces. So I think does it answer your question?
Yes, I do have a question on what you said though. So, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the concept that Talmud is binding because all of Klal Yisrael accepted it. I believe that's in the Hakdama to the Mishnah Torah, right?
Yes, of course, yes.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, I don't have it in front of me. Doesn't he give two conditions? There has to be an active Sanhedrin plus the acceptance of the people, or is just acceptance of the people enough?
No, the Talmud was signatured 100 years after the Sanhedrin did not exist. So part of the laws in the Talmud was accepted by Sanhedrin. It is clear, but the Talmud as a whole its power was based on original laws from the Talmud and the acceptance of this book to be an authority. It has a tremendous meaning, even for our life today. Things that were accepted by all of Israel it's some kind of democratic way. It is
Absolutely.
really in the essence of the democracy ways how things are accepted. Okay.
Yes, I don't know why, but my memory told me that. I wish I had it in front of me. My memory, I thought I saw two aspects. So if I'm mistaken, I'm mistaken, and I apologize.
No,
But
I have to. Let's make it much more clear. Sanhedrin has two major roles. The first one is to interpret the Torah itself, to say to you what is ein tachat ein, to say to you what that pasuk is meaning, what is the meaning of this verse, and what is the meaning of this Torah law. Okay, they have the only your custom does not relevant to this way.
Yeah.
And they have a second role, issuing decrees, establishing customs, and that role is accepted by has the relevance of acceptance by all of Israel.
but there needs to be but there needs to be a Sanhedrin to issue a custom. Customs can't just come out of
There has to be a Sanhedrin in order to interpret the Torah law exactly. But when the Sanhedrin says this is not an interpretation of the Torah law, this is our decree, or this is a custom which we establish, this is a gzera or something like that, it can be accepted by all of Israel.
I understand.
Even more, they don't have the authority if it is not accepted by all of Israel. Okay, so for example, let me remind you that there was the Ezra decree, okay, requiring men who experience seminal missions to immerse in the mikveh before prayer. But since the majority of Jewish people did not accept that decree, it became invalid. It became nullified. So this, you see the power of the people of Israel. Wow, it's amazing. And even let me show you even the Torah itself. Okay, that's the reason why I say to people that the laws itself will never change, but punishing or about the law is relevant to the state of Israel today. So for example, Misherabu Ameratzchim Batla Egla Arufa. Egla Arufa becomes invalid when there are, which is Egla Arufa is a law of the Torah, to make a ceremony when someone is found dead, and it became invalid when the people of Israel, when murder was not rare enough, and when the situation of the people of Israel was not it was not relevant to punish on that anymore, or to make a ceremony. You have to punish that, but to make a ceremony according to the Torah, because the situation was that there was people were murdering was not rare, and it did not have the effect of people to notice that it is something which is extraordinary things. So they abolished that law of the Torah.
And would you consider the acceptance of Shulchan Aruch as all of Am Yisrael, or no?
No, you cannot, because first of all, most of Shulchan Aruch, even 90% of, even more than that,
Rambam
is based on Rambam. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And okay, but Shulchan Aruch was not accepted as Rama Agahot Harama was another version of Shulchan Aruch, and people are not. And Mishnah Berurah was another version of level, and Rabbi Ovadia Yosef was not accepting Shulchan Aruch as a codex to exactly to follow. So most of the things of Shulchan Aruch was not something that people follow exactly. They said it as
I think it's fair to say that Maran wanted it to be accepted by all of Israel, but maybe it didn't get to exactly where he wanted, and his vision was, but it didn't materialize the way he wanted.
Yes, of course. So it gives us since there is no Sanhedrin, even the Rambam, let me make clear that the Rambam says that he concluded in his book the Talmud, the Old Talmud, and he was accurate in that. But his conclusion of the Talmud was not accepted, for example, in some issues by the Shulchan Aruch. So even the Rambam itself, since he's not a Sanhedrin, is not an absolute power. So this is a paradoxical point of view. The Rambam gives you the understanding that you cannot follow every other rabbis because they're not like the Sanhedrin. But that part gives you the understanding that you cannot, you're not must, you do not have to follow his rulings. Okay? So I'm always saying to people when they ask me if I'm a Rambamist, I always tell them that a Rambamist cannot be a Rambamist. Okay? You have to think. This is a very important thing that people should have as personal responsibility.
Beautiful.
Amazing, amazing. So you want to take, I think we can go to the third.
Yeah, sure.
So communal acceptance plays a major role in shaping halakha. When should personal or local customs take precedence over broader halakhic rulings, and how should one approach such situations?
So as I said before, one have to make a careful distinction between minhag makom, which is local custom, and minhag avot. That was this question?
Yes.
Yes. So as I said before, in public domains, one should follow the local community practice for the sake of the unity of the. For example, suppose someone asked me if he should wear tzitzit out in Ashkenazi yeshiva, for example, while his family tradition is not. So if this is a public, if he is in a public where public custom should be preserved, he should do it. But in private or personal worship, Avodat Hashem, the minhag makom is not relevant. It's not relevant to his personal space. As I said, minhag avot. Actually, people say that al titosh torat imecha, but it means actually the original meaning of that al titosh torat. What does it mean? Torat your mother. So in Midrashim, Torat your mother means Torat ha'umah shelcha, your nation. Al titosh Torat umatcha. Okay? And that means that a custom that were accepted, but your amatcha al titosh, even though it is not written. So as I said before, minhag avot is a good starting point. But minhag avot, for example, in a places when there is no public, there is no meaning to this public. So, for example, Taharat HaMishpacha, what is called Taharat HaMishpacha, or Dinei Nida, for example, it does not relate to Minhag Avot. I mean, there is no, this is a private and intimate space, which when you understand that there is, and I think that from the Talmud laws to our days, people added more and more restrictions. And these restrictions really they avoid a proper intimacy, which is much more than the Talmud says, and much more than the basic psika says. It is you can keep it. I mean, if you're a Hasid Gur and your rabbi tells you that you have to preserve something which is very extraordinary chumrah. This is your private space. Even if you want to stay in this community, this is your private space. You don't have to follow. Anyway, I mean, minhag avot is really as a basic identity for the tefillah, for the nusach, for the version, because you have to pick something. But if along the years you say that you don't like this kind of slichot, or you don't like this kind of kriyat shema or praying, of course you can change it. I mean, you don't have to ask. I mean, people say that you have to lehatir et haneder. Yes. So, but according to the Rambam, you don't have to. I mean, you can, if something is related to avodat Hashem in much more accurate way to your personality, so you don't have to be in a place where people do not sing or people do not say the praying according to the way which motivates you and which is avodat Hashem. The tefillah is avodat Hashem. Is not just a social, practical way. So I think that this should be a starting point, and but not a final point. And I gave two examples of the matzot, soft matzot, and eating locusts, for example.
So what about like there's communal minhagim that like there's certain ones that we've seen actually start to take shape during our own lifetime, where we're actually seeing them changing. They're minor ones, like when you say in the end of L'chadoti boy b'shalom, I know my grandfather and a lot of people didn't turn around, and now everyone's turning around, facing their back to the Aron, which maybe to some is a minor thing, and to some it's maybe not such a great, minhag. But then we have things like, the kaparot with chicken, or you have things like the shliselcha, the key and the challah, and everyone's like, no, this is, if we're just allowing all these minhagim to just start taking shape, where's the boundary line? Like there are people who want to stand up to these things, but they're like, well, everyone's doing it now, so I guess we have to do it. You understand what I'm asking?
Yes, I understand it. Let me tell you a story of my own. I mean, my family tradition was personally to follow the rulings of Shulchan Aruch. In the age of 15, when I read the Rambam and started to learn it, I was fascinated by his holistic view of life. I have a TEDx 14 minutes of TEDx presentation that someone can follow. But I was fascinating from his holistic view, and I decided that I will follow him. And but in the public with the family things, I kept my family minhagim. So, for example, when my father died and the people and my family wanted to go after a month to the grave and to make azkara, I follow them. Okay, I told my family I really appreciate this is not a prohibited things according to the Rambam. He gives you a guidance not to go to graves, but to focus on life, but not on the dead part, and not on the place of the grave. If you want to remember someone, teach his teachings, and do not go to a physical place. His neshama is not there. Okay. But I understood that people are really I really wanted to appreciate their honor to my father in that way. So I went with them, and it was okay. Okay, so I don't go. Okay, I'm following Rambam, and I don't accept anything else. I would like people to understand the sensitivities of the relations between people, because it is very important. But in my place, and for example, I make chalita to a meat. So we only boil the meat after the water are boiling, and after that we put the meat into the pot. So but I keep that on my place, and when I go to others people homes, I understand that they follow another rulings, so I accept that. And I think this is the good way to have relations together, but still preserve your own understanding. So when there is a personal space, I think that someone should really follow his understanding and his avodat Hashem, and you have to follow. You have to be fully committed to avodat Hashem, and not just to your community. To preserve the community, it is very important, because today it becomes a really disaster. People are obligated to shayachut, to belong to a community where. So I'll give you an example. All Kabbalat Shabbat, for example, all Kabbalat Shabbat was just renewed 500 years ago. Okay, people do not, and it is it's very important that people will understand the difference in the authority of Kabbalat Shabbat and Tfilat Arvit. So when they have to give help in the house, for example, and there is something dochak or something which is in stress in the house, it is better. I teach people that it is better to pass Kabbalat Shabbat and not pass Tfilat Arvit, because people feel very, very bad. Okay, how can I go to a Tfilat Arvit? I missed the Kabbalat Shabbat. So people have to understand what is custom, what is from Rabbanan, from the sages, and what is from the Torah. Okay, and each one has a different power in your life. So Ben Hashmashot, for example, suppose that there was sunset and you forgot to do something which is forbidden by the sages, but not according to the Torah. in a stress situation, במצב דחק, or for mitzvah or something like that, you can do something. Even if it was sunset, but not if for Torah laws or melacha deoraita. Okay, so people have to understand that. So for example, when I was praying in a Sephardic or in Ashkenazic prayers, and people were turning around, if it doesn't really matter to people, I would stand maybe at the side of the thing. I didn't want people to recognize that I'm not doing exactly what they are doing. Okay, so let me give you another example in Tfilat Musaf of Rosh Chodesh. Okay, Tfilat Musaf of Rosh Chodesh, according to the Rambam, you do not move your you do not get down your tefillin. Okay, I have to still pray with. So if I can cover myself with talit and something like that, I still have. I do not bother anyone else. Okay, I do not make it on purpose. I do not make them look at me or something like that. So it is, but when it is really clear that when it is make something which damage the unity of the community, I do it with them. I do not poresh min hatzibur. Okay, and I tell them when everybody told me, I tell them that this is the public space, and in public space I have to unless this is a isur. In public space, I keep the public customs.
Yes,
it's very important to understand.
I like that you made a distinction, and you said even in a public place you can go off to the side. Like I noticed the people who still don't turn around, like myself. I'm not sitting in the middle of the room. I go over to the side, and you don't want to upset anyone. You don't want questions that why are you doing this and all that. That's not something that we want. But
machloket is never good.
Machloket is not good, exactly. But my real question is if we see a minhag, and I mentioned that earlier as like something minor, but there are minhagim that come in that like some people feel like this is really like gray area, potentially very bad. What do we do when that becomes popularized? How do we,
do you have an example?
I'm saying like I can't think of something off the top of my head, but I'm talking about even like a kaparot with chicken that they bring it to the Beit Knesset in the backyard and they do this whole thing, and a lot of people are involved in it. But you're reading it in the Shulchan Aruch, he considers it the darchei mori or something like that, right? So
okay. So when I was a child, my father made me kaparot. Okay, so and I don't accept that. It looks to me really darchei mori. It looks to me very wrong. I cannot accept that. So I don't have to accept that. But I'm not arguing with my father. Okay, I'm not arguing with my father. There is some relations with fathers that must be kept. Okay, at some point he didn't do it anymore. But we have to understand the relation, the obedience, and the distinction between honoring someone. Okay, so let me start with honoring Talmidei Chachamim or honoring people and the obedience. I must honor Talmidei Chachamim, even I don't accept them, even I don't accept the ruling, even I really honor them. Okay, and I must honor my father, and honoring means in front of him. I cannot say something which is opposite to his mind in front of him. But even the Rambam says at some point of Shechita, well, my father says that, but I'm saying different things. But he said that in a very, very accurate way. He said, my father is from Ha'osrim, is part of the group that prohibits that, and I'm part of the group that permits that.
Right. So he didn't.
Okay.
Wrong.
So I'm not against you. There is an original dispute about these things, and I follow the people that thinks that this is domeh lema'aseh emori. This is emunat tefillah. This is part of things that I don't have to do that. Okay, and I can lean on Rambam or something like that, and that way what I'm doing. Okay, when everybody was doing that after the tefillah, I was saying to they show me that I'm not part of it. And I said them that, okay, I'm not part of it, but do whatever you think is good for Avodat Hashem. I think this is not Avodat Hashem, but okay, this is my mind. This is my truth. This is my opinion. Okay, this is I can defend it. And this is my opinion. This is a bad things for me. I think this is bad things for you. But if you think this is a bad good things, and you have and you're unconscious to what dangers it may consist, and you understand that, and you are cautious from that, okay, just be cautious and understand that in the very good way that it should be understood. Okay, and that's all. I'm not arguing with you.
Understand it in the most positive possible sense.
Yes,
the most charitable way.
Yes, but do not get into emotional.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling them I'm not emotional. Okay, do whatever. If this is your tradition, I think it's wrong. I think it's but okay, this is my point. You have another point. It's okay. We have to. This is not. I'm not fighting my own things, and I'm not fighting you in a way that will damage our relations.
Yeah.
Okay. This is not emotional. I love you, and I keep loving him.
Personal. I think that's the word you want to use. It's not personal.
Yes. You have to make it, but you have to make it clear, because I really do not want that. I do not want, and if I can, even if I can convince you in a way which not, it is very hard to convince, because most people are insulting other people's, but this is not the way. I mean, you cannot, even though the Rambam wrote. Okay, maybe the Rambam wrote in a way that he can make it. Okay, but I'm not in this situation, and I'm not posek rabim. Okay, I'm not. I'm telling people what I'm posek for myself, and this is my truth. It is my deepest truth that I'm committed to, and when they understand that, they do not. I think that's something
they respect it. They respect it.
Yeah, they respect it, and they. And sometimes people say to me that, okay, they keep that because of their fathers or something like that, but they will not keep it there, for themselves. Okay, so it is very important.
Thank you.
To distinguish
very important.
It is very
yes. And we wanted the Rav to speak also about his new book that came out. Everyone look at it again.
Okay, this is a very based on a research I made for several years. When I learned. When I wrote even Sefer Tahara commentary, that is the biggest book and the longest books in Mishnah Torah, almost twice long as the average book. It is complicated. It is mystified. It is enigmatic. It is people do not understand what Tum'ah is and Tahara is, and it was fascinating me because of the complexity. Because of the huge range of halachot and the enigmatic. So I started to understand that. And Rambam says that purity is not a term that describes the object itself, but describes the attitude of ourselves to this object. So, for example, a corpse when we said that corpse is tameh, is impurified, we do not say anything about the corpse, but we say about the attitude to death.
So is the relationship that we are obligated to have towards the corpse, and not a description of the corpse itself.
Yes, this is not a feature of the course itself, but a feature of our mind on this situation.
Mm-hmm.
This is the center of the core essence of Tum'ah, according to the Rambam. And people are not acknowledged with that. People said that even blood menstruation, nidah, is something ugly or something like that, because this is tameh. And Rambam says that all these terms are related only to the mikdash. We are all tmeim today, but this is an entrance card to the mikdash, the purity. And I had to understand why this is entrance. It is not related to our life, and people are and that was the first thing, the first understanding relating impurity, that people relate to the feature of the object itself. And the second one was that if it is related to the object itself, it has relevance to our life. But actually, it has no relevance to our life, just to entrance to the Mikdash and some other aspect of spaces, and it was really an effort to understand why does it relate to the Mikdash itself. So eventually, and the third thing is that people relates to Tum'ah as just a feature of death and the will to be distant from the death itself in all of its aspect. So, for example, giving birth is a situation of Tum'ah because there was no simple reason. So people thought of that giving a birth is some kind of death to the mother because she's losing life.
They didn't know what to do with it, so they had to attach something
Yes.
to make it work.
This is acrobacy of the halacha. It is in nonsense. It doesn't relate to anything. It really
it's giving life.
Yes, it's simple, giving life.
Yeah.
And eventually it does not. It does not follows the halacha itself, because when you see the halacha itself, for example, let me give you an example. When having a birth under 40 days, okay, and there is hapala, there is abortion under after 2 weeks of pregnancy, there is no tumah. There's no tumah. And for a salmon, so people said that salmon is tumah because it has a potential of life, but when it does not have a potential of life, it has a tumah. So let's see what goes with abortion. Abortion after 2 weeks, for example. This is more a damage potential than a salmon, of course. Salmon. So it does not. This reason does not follow the halakha, and there are many other issues. I'm a halachic person, so I can give several examples, but this is not a case. So I would like to understand that it is not the corpse, that it is the tum'ah, but Rambam says that it is the attitude to the corpse.
Yeah.
But what was this attitude? So now I made a leap, which Rambam did not point, but he gave me a direction to. A corpse or a dead person is not a source of tum'ah. What makes he is a source of tum'ah, but he's the feature of the tum'ah is not lies in the corpse itself, but in our attitude, and actually in our attitude to go to the mikdash, in our attitude to search for kirvat Hashem, closeness to God, and in that way, God tells us that getting through the death, the worship of death, is not a good way to get close to God.
Beautiful.
And getting through sexual relations or sexual intercourse or something like that is not the way to come to the mikdash. So even though you made a mitzvah, you buried a person, or you made an intercourse or yachasei shut with your wife, which is a mitzvah, you're not allowed to come to this place because this is very fascinating and can be prone to errors, where avodah zarah, where idolatry made that a big mistake. So I would like you to come to the mikdash pure from that issues. I don't want you to come to the mikdash and make seances and look for the death or look for pulchan avot, your ancestors worship. Pulchan, which means avot, pulchan avot, ma'alat ov, for example, is just you wanted to be connected to your avot.
Yeah.
And in this way, it is you have to be far away from this. Yes. And this is also related to our life, because people really, I think they make mistakes, because they only when their fathers, their ancestors are dying, they give them honor in Kaddish, in donation, and in some things. While they were alive, they do not pay them attention as they should. And this is really something
that's incredible, actually.
Yeah. Yes. I've once heard the line, we shouldn't focus so much on visiting the dead, we should be focusing on visiting the sick. right?
Yes,
That
yes,
I
it's
think
really important, and people do not, understand that,
right.
and people want to make. So, for example, I give you an example. Someone who understand that, he said to me one day, "I would like to donate for the sake of myself. I would like to donate to Ilui Nishmati." Okay, and I was at first I was astonished. What do you mean? He said, "I would like to donate Ilui Nishmati. I would like to devote my life not just to but also I'm in the memory for in the memory of my ancestor and my precious people, but I would like to work on advancing myself, advancing my family, advancing my community, and I think this is the best way." And the other things is for example, with sexuality, because sexuality plays a major roles in our life today. This is because of many things, and what Rambam says to people is that this is not the essence of life. No matter what is your your uh, uh, your sexuality, or this is not a matter of, this is not the essence of life. Okay, do not bring to the temple your essence. Do not bring your sexuality. And it has a much more implication that maybe we can talk about in another time, but it is very relevant to people.
Beautiful.
So
Because the essence of life is having a contemplation about life, is your wisdom, is your way of coping with things, with your life, and having a full understanding of what you're doing in life, and not just in sexuality, or making sexuality as part of identity. This is, I think, what these major things, according to the Tum'ah and Tahara, relates to our life in this
and just
arena.
before we go, just two things that stood out to me in my mind is I'm thinking about, for example, you mentioned that it is our attitude towards it that makes it, tameh. So perfect example that just came to my mind is like the blood sprinkling of the blood of the paraduma is like it's the same blood that's making one
Yes.
person tameh and making one person tahor.
Right, that shows idea.
So
Yes,
it
yes.
shows that idea that it's not the blood itself, it's not. So besides for that, I think another important point that you mentioned was about, that I think people really don't always know the context of history of understanding that how revolutionary the priesthood was, right? All the rituals that were done, it was really the anti-death cult, right? Because pagan priests were very much obsessed with the dead. They were very much,
Yes.
and
Yes,
our
yes.
priests are not even going near the dead. It's like an amazing revolution that the Torah.
Yes, I really think that, I mean, not just I'm saying that Douglas, which was an anthropologist, which discovered, which researched, investigated that arena of purity. When she understood, she published a book almost 17 years ago, first book on purity and on this concept. But eventually, she changed her mind on the understanding of this terminology in Judaism. And she said, and it's very important, that you cannot understand, you can understand impurity notions in ancient and primitive cultures in a way of ordering your life, okay? Making order in life. But you cannot understand impurity in the Torah, but only in the way this is an antidote to the culture around us. And this culture around us is still relevant today. That's what I'm trying to say. And the Torah gives you an antidote to ideologies and to perspectives, which progressive perspectives and something like that, which makes you hard to cope with life itself. And but I think this is not just to purity. This is to the whole Torah. And what we have talked today, how to manage your life with following your responsibility, with understanding the dangerous things that just obeying other following without understanding things, and trying to achieve truth in your life is really an antidote to to uh, to our whole culture, our Western culture. I don't know how to call it, or progressive culture, and which really makes someone lost his mind, or there are truth in our life. We cannot reach the full truth, but we can follow in a path that leads to achieving the truth in our life. and managing with it with sensitivity to relation to the people, along with a fully commitment in your life to your responsibility. I think this is and understanding the whole Torah is giving you tools to cope with the difficulties in life, or coping with every aspect in life in a proper way, which build your essence and makes you a big person. Having a big personality is the aim of the whole Torah, and this is all avodat Hashem.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
It's Chaim Hila Machzikim Ba.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I want to tell everyone to, if you can read Hebrew, right? Ta'ara, Toda, V'chevra, Tfisat HaTum'ah V'Ta'ara b'Mishnat HaRambam from Harav Yochai Makbili, setting forth a path of understanding the core concept of Tum'ah V'Ta'ara and how that could be utilized to better our lives and better every aspect of life through understanding this core concept of Tum'ah V'Ta'ara according to the understanding of Harambam. We thank you so much. Toda lecha.
I would like to say to people, I mean, if they would like to reach me and ask more questions,
Absolutely.
they can write to they can find at www.rambam.plus plus. They can find the books and there is a additional website mishnetorah.coil and they can there is in YouTube lessons that they can listen. They can join even a WhatsApp group which we talks about sometimes relevant issues about which has relevance to Rambam's thought, and they can find us in Twitter, maybe and in other places, Facebook, and I'll hope that everyone will get acknowledged with Rambam thoughts, because it is very important. I mean, someone can have argue with Rambams, but everyone has to know him, at least to know him. And it is my main effort to make him accessible for everyone. So this is just an invitation. I'm not the final point. You can start with yourself.
Just for everyone to know, to hopefully persuade them to be in touch with Rav Makbili and to join his Torah spheres and through email, WhatsApp, whatever. I just the amount that Rav Makbili has done in his time is astonishing. The most accurate Mishnah Torah we've ever had. An entire full commentary on Moreh Nevuchim. Then not enough to go to have the most accurate Mishnah Torah, not enough to bring out an explanation from Moreh Nevuchim, but now also taking concepts of Harambam and breaking them down and into incredible what's the word I'm looking for giving you a whole scope of a central idea through the eyes of a Rambam. Also writing Haggadot and for the holidays, everything that you've written, it's like we could spend 10 years just going through what you have brought out. So we're sitting in front of a massive Talmid Chacham. We appreciate your time, and we know that you're going to do more and more and more and more. And we look forward to
having you on again.
We're looking forward to having you again, and we're looking forward to seeing more and more of your works come out. We appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben and Benson. Thank you very much.
All right.
I appreciate that. It was my honor. Thank you very much.
Our honors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.